The email arrived at 3:27 a.m. on a Tuesday. I remember because I was still awake, hunched over my laptop at the kitchen counter, finalizing construction permits for a client's home renovation. My name is Ethan Mitchell. I'm a 34-year-old architect living in Charlotte, North Carolina. And that night, my world collapsed with a single notification. My phone lit up with her name, Vanessa. We need to talk would have been a courtesy. It's over would have been direct. But what I got instead was a 647-word farewell essay with the subject line, "A new chapter. 5 years of my life, dismissed in a midnight email." I stared at my screen, the blue light illuminating the empty space on my hand where my grandfather's golden wristband usually sat. I'd taken it off to shower and never put it back on. Meanwhile, Vanessa wore the princess-cut diamond engagement ring I'd spent 3 months' salary on, proposing last Christmas Eve at the restaurant where we'd had our first date. The ring I'd nervously presented just 143 days ago. I counted. "Ethan," the email began. "By the time you read this, I will have already moved my things out of the apartment." My heart sank. I glanced around our 2-bedroom apartment, my apartment now apparently, and noticed the subtle absences I'd been too exhausted to register when I got home from the construction site. Her collection of travel souvenirs, the vintage record player she'd inherited from her dad, the framed photo of us at the Grand Canyon that had sat on our bookshelf for years. "I've realized that the life we planned isn't the one I want anymore," she continued. "You deserve someone who can love you completely, and I've come to understand that person isn't me." A wave of nausea hit me. 5 years, 1,825 days of building a life together, planning our future, even putting a down payment on a small plot of land outside the city where we talked about building our own home someday. All of it. Gone in 647 carefully crafted words that managed to say absolutely nothing. I called her immediately, straight to voicemail. I called Jake next. My best friend since college, the guy who'd helped me pick out the engagement ring and who'd already ordered a custom suit for his role as my best man at the wedding. No answer. The next morning I woke up on the couch, my laptop still open, that damn email still glaring at me. I called in sick to the architecture firm and spent the day in a fog, reaching out to mutual friends who seemed suspiciously evasive. By evening I'd sat alone with a glass of whiskey and was scrolling through old photos looking for signs I'd missed. That's when I saw it. A comment from Jake on one of Vanessa's Instagram posts from 8 months ago. Nothing particularly suspicious, just a string of emojis that felt intimate. I started paying attention to the patterns, the group photos from our monthly game nights where they always somehow ended up standing next to each other. The inside jokes I wasn't part of. I called Vanessa's sister Megan. We'd always been close, or so I thought. We'd spent last Thanksgiving with her family, and I'd helped her move into her new condo just last month. "Ethan," she said, her voice tight. "I'm so sorry about Jake and Vanessa." "Did you know?" I asked, standing in my kitchen staring at the refrigerator magnets we'd collected from our road trips across the country. The silence on the other end was answer enough. "How long?" I whispered. Another painful silence. "Ethan, How? Long?" Megan sighed. "I think it started about a year ago, after your dad's heart attack." My dad's heart attack. When I was making daily trips to the hospital, terrified of losing him, my fiancée and best friend had started an affair. During those 3 weeks when Jake would bring me coffee in the hospital waiting room, telling me he'd always have my back, and offering to stay with me through the night when things looked worst. 3 days after the email, I still hadn't heard from either of them. I'd sent dozens of messages, left countless voicemails that veered between anger and heartbroken confusion. The silence was deafening. Then came the text from my brother. "Have you seen what Vanessa posted online?" I hadn't, but I looked immediately. There they were. Vanessa and Jake, standing in front of a beachfront villa at sunset. Her in a simple white dress. Him in a light blue suit. Both beaming at the camera. The caption. "When you know, you know. #JustMarried, #forever begins." The timestamp. 2 weeks after the email. The location tag. The Outer Banks beach house we had booked for our honeymoon. The comment section was filled with congratulations from people who'd RSVP'd to our wedding, people who'd bought gifts from our registry. People from our friend group who must have known what was happening and said nothing. I set my phone down and put my head in my hands, overwhelmed by the betrayal. But here's where the story takes an unexpected turn. Because among the congratulatory comments was one from an unfamiliar name. Congratulations. The photos came out beautifully. Can't wait to share the video. A wedding photographer who had an Instagram business account with a website that featured a blog that mentioned upcoming weddings, including one for V&J, scheduled 3 months before the email. They hadn't just had an affair. They had planned this for months. While I was tasting wedding cakes and researching honeymoon destinations, they were planning their own ceremony, in secret. I spent the next 24 hours in investigative mode, fueled by hurt and disbelief. I found the receipt for their wedding rings in our shared cloud storage that Vanessa had forgotten to unsync. Airline tickets purchased 6 months ago. A rental agreement for a new apartment signed 2 months before I had even proposed. My proposal that now made sickening sense. Perhaps she'd accepted only as a cover while she orchestrated her exit strategy. 1 week after discovering their wedding photos, I received a package at my office. No return address. Inside was a USB drive and a handwritten note. You deserve to know the truth. I'm sorry I didn't tell you sooner. I recognized Vanessa's sister Megan's handwriting immediately. The USB contained dozens of screenshots of conversations between Vanessa and Jake dating back nearly 2 years. Plans made, lies coordinated, alibis established. But most devastating was a conversation from 2 weeks before the email. Vanessa. I can't keep doing this to him. We need to tell Ethan. Jake. Not until after the Davidson project is signed. He's the only connection we have to them. Once that's done, you can send the email we drafted. The Davidson project. My client. The multi-million-dollar mixed-use development I'd been designing for months. The same project Jake's struggling interior design business had been desperately trying to land for over a year. They hadn't just betrayed me emotionally. They'd used me professionally. Waited until they could extract every possible benefit from our relationship before discarding me. Two can play that game. The Davidson contract signing was scheduled for the day after Vanessa and Jake were set to return from their honeymoon. A honeymoon they documented extensively on social media, seemingly oblivious to the fact that I could see every post, every check-in, every smiling selfie in front of landmarks I'd dreamed of visiting with the woman I loved. I called my client, Mr. Davidson, directly, requested an urgent meeting at his office, arrived with a folder containing every screenshot, every piece of evidence showing how Jake had attempted to use me, and by extension him, to save his failing business. I believe in honesty and integrity in all relationships, I told him calmly, my hands surprisingly steady as I passed him the folder. And I wanted you to know exactly who you'd be getting into business with if you signed with them. Mr. Davidson, a man who'd built his fortune through hard work and had been married to the same woman for 42 years, flipped through the pages, his expression hardening. Consider their involvement nullified, he said, then paused. And Ethan? That concept you showed me for the rooftop garden. I'd like to move forward with that as a priority feature, with you having full creative control. Vanessa and Jake returned from their honeymoon to find his design contract rescinded, their professional reputations damaged, and an article in Charlotte Business Journal highlighting my innovative design for the new Davidson development. The text I received from Vanessa that night wasn't nearly as eloquent as her breakup masterpiece. Just 4 words. What did you do? I didn't respond. Some things are better left unsaid. Like how I'd donated her collection of vinyl records, the ones she'd left in our shared storage unit, to a local music education program. Or how I'd simply told the truth when mutual friends asked me directly what had happened between us. Or how I'd finally changed the locks on the apartment that, as it turned out, was solely in my name, because Vanessa had insisted on keeping her finances separate until after the wedding. Sometimes the best revenge isn't making a scene or demanding justice. Sometimes it's living your life with such integrity that their betrayal becomes nothing more than a testament to their own character, not yours. They took 5 years of my past, but they don't get a single second of my future. Last weekend, while grabbing coffee at my usual spot downtown, I met someone new. She's a structural engineer specializing in sustainable building practices. We talked for hours about architecture, travel, and our shared love of mid-century modern design. Not once did I think about Vanessa or Jake. And for the first time in months, I didn't count the days. Instead, I realized that sometimes The life you thought you wanted isn't the one you were meant to have. And sometimes broken engagements are blessings in disguise. As I drove home that evening, past the land where Vanessa and I had once planned to build our home, I finally felt peace. I'd already called my realtor about putting that property on the market. It was time for a fresh start, on my own terms. I've started sketching plans for my own home now, smaller, but with a dedicated studio space, and the open concept kitchen I'd always wanted, but Vanessa had vetoed. For the first time in years, every decision is mine alone. That's the thing about betrayal. It hurts like hell, but once the dust settles, you realize how much of yourself you'd compromised to make someone else happy. How many red flags you'd ignored because you were too busy planning a future that wasn't meant to be. I still have bad days. Moments when I find myself wondering what I did wrong, or how I could have been so blind. But those moments are getting fewer and farther between. And the email that once shattered my world, it's still in my inbox, undeleted. Not because I can't let go, but because it reminds me of an important truth. Some people come into your life to stay, and others come to teach you exactly what you don't want. Vanessa and Jake taught me that lesson the hard way, but at least they taught me. I would love to hear from you. Comment with your own story of betrayal or recovery in the comments below. Thanks for watching, and remember to like, share, and subscribe to this channel, and I will see you in the next video.